When it comes to boxing, there isn't a person alive who hasn't heard of legendary promoter and manager Frank Warren. He is the owner of Queensberry Promotions and founder of British boxing channel Box Nation, a face of boxing which stems back with over 40 years of boxing's main circle. Frank Warren has promoted and managed world champions and top-ranked fighters including Naseem Hamed, Frank Bruno and many more top-ranked fighters of the 80s and 90s including Chris Eubank. Also later fighters like Ricky Hatton and more recently Tyson Fury and Billy Joe Saunders. He has been at the top of his game in the business, but Warren has also had a lot of enemies and lawsuits. On the 30th of November 1989, Frank Warren showed up to one of his boxing promotions at the Broadway Theatre in Barking, which featured one of his fighters, Colin McMillan. As he arrived, he was approached by a masked gunman who came out of the crowd and shot him twice with a .22 Luger pistol at close range. The masked gunman fled and Warren was taken to hospital. He had lost half of his lung and parts of his ribs. Another inch and he would have been shot in the heart. The business style of Warren had made him a lot of enemies, and there were a number of suspects in the investigation. One stood out more than any other: Frank Warren's first world champion, who won the title only 2 years earlier, who was at a bitter feud with Warren and was suing him over a libel case. Police led to believe the person to have shot Frank Warren was the fighting fireman Terry Marsh. During a search of Marsh's home, police found ammunition in his possession, but this was explained by Marsh's previous career as a Marine and it did not match the bullets used in the attack. 2 months after the shooting, and despite the lack of forensic evidence, any confession or identification, Marsh was charged with the attempted murder of Frank Warren and was remanded in custody. Terry Marsh spent 10 months on remand awaiting trial for the attempted murder of Frank Warren. During the trial, a prison confession was used against Marsh. Terry Marsh did not appear in the witness box to give evidence. He was subsequently acquitted. The outstanding libel case was subsequently contested by the two protagonists and the jury found in favor of Marsh. Over 30 years later, the masked gunman who shot Warren has never been found. What was this person's motives for shooting Warren, and who was this person? Could it be someone from the boxing circle themselves, or could it be a hired hitman? Let's say whoever it was knew what they was doing because they was never caught, or maybe they was just lucky. It carried on for Frank Warren with business as usual, not even being fazed much by being shot and almost killed. He rose even higher in the boxing game, taking each top boxer from each era to the top. Even today, Frank Warren is higher in his game than ever. Terry Marsh had already retired from boxing in 1987 after being diagnosed with epilepsy. He retired as the undefeated IBF World Light Welterweight Champion. He took up chess boxing at the age of 56, winning the World Chess Boxing Association welterweight title against Dimir Agasaryan from Armenia.